May this video be the starting point for a journey of self-discovery and connection with the love that resides within every human being.
When Gautama, the Buddha, was asked, is it better to walk alone or in company? He said, it's better to walk alone than to walk with a fool. Well, that's him, not me. He was quite sure that only a fool will walk with you. So he said, it's better to walk alone than to walk with a fool. Certain lore in this country says, when you want to do a short and quick journey, walk alone. When you want to do a long journey, walk in company. But the important thing is, who is walking with you? Not always being together is a good thing. Many times, being together can be a nuisance. So, first and foremost, unless you are a twin, even then, we come alone and we go alone. If one does not know how to be by himself or herself, then being together can be a lot of nuisance. We are referred to as human beings. Human beings means every other creature is what it is simply because of what it does. But a human being can simply be, which is a unique quality of the human being, that we can simply be, that we are not compulsive action, that's what it means. Our action is conscious and judicious. But generally, when people get together, generally, people are in compulsive action. It can be an association where there could be a purposeful action, or it can be a gang where there can be more purposeful action, or it can be a crowd which can be a compulsive action. So essentially, to be human means we have reached that point of evolution within ourselves that if we wish, we can simply sit here, just be. We can consider as to what action to take and what not to take. This is definitely individual. When individuals come together, we say, it's we in plural, but still it is individuals who have to come together. To be an individual means you are not further divisible. That means you're just one. People find different ways to divide themselves within themselves. In India, with 18,000 years of cultural history, we have invented various words to divide ourselves. It's very common for people to talk in terms of Atma, Paramatma, Ahankara, this one and that one. But every culture has this in their own way. When things are going right, when good things are being done, if you ask people, they say, yes, I did it. When things don't go right, when things go wrong, then they will try to find somebody. If they don't find anybody, he is always there. When they are very wonderful, of course they take pride in being how wonderful they are. When they turn nasty, they say, it was my ego. Mr. Ego is always a fall guy. So individual means But if I'm wonderful, it's me. If I'm nasty, it's me. All of you. Are you 24 hours wonderful? Hello? Are you 24 hours wonderful? No, sometimes wonderful, sometimes nasty, sometimes beautiful, sometimes ugly. It's okay. If we understand it is me who is capable of being absolutely wonderful and it is me who is capable of being absolutely nasty another moment, then gradually the number of moments of nastiness will keep on receding. If I see what is wonderful is me, what is nasty is… In India we have many words, it's my karma, what can I do? Now, you must fix this. Being an individual is very important, that means you're not further divisible. If I'm wonderful, it's me, if I'm nasty, it's me. If I succeed, it's me, if I fail, it's me. You have to fix this. I'm just asking you a simple question. Within this, how many people? Hello? How many people within you? One, two? Only one. If you're one, you're a normal human being. If you're more than one, you're either schizophrenic or you're possessed. You either need a psychiatrist or an exorcist. But you will see whenever things don't go right, another guy will pop up from somewhere. So, becoming an individual means you killed all those pop-ups and just said, this is me. This what is me has many dimensions. If I don't see this is an individual, I cannot divide this further, then transformation will not happen. If transformation does not happen, if people come together in that state, there will be more mess than solutions. All creatures hang out together. Whether it is various wild creatures, most of them hang out together. Even monkeys who are just one step behind us, they are also in bunches. It is only human being who can sit alone and transform himself or herself, because this is the prerogative of being human, that we can simply be. This is why you are called human being, you are capable of being. You are not in a compulsive state of activity. If you want, consciously you can evolve. In this evening you can evolve, if you're willing. It doesn't take 1,000,000 years, because our evolution is not biological anymore, our evolution is conscious. For every other creature, it is fixed. Nature has fixed 2 lines within which every other creature lives and goes. But once you have come as a human being, there is only bottom line, there is no top line. There is no limit as to how a human being can become. So before we associate ourselves with people, it'll be good every day in the morning or a certain period of your life, if one withdraws to spend a little time with oneself and see how, in what ways can this be little better than the way it was yesterday, this life? How it can be a little better life than what it was yesterday, because most people are coming together for their needs. To fulfill needs, people come together. Some people come together to fulfill a purpose or a cause. Some people come together to eat, drink and be together because they cannot be alone. This is something that every human being must do. A certain period of time, you do one thing, just 24 hours, take a break from everything, not today, right now you're among people. You take a break sometime, just 24 hours, and don't read, don't watch television, don't use the phone. Simply sit in your room, alert, not sleeping. And if you watch the nature of your mind, you yourself will certify, this is a madman. Because for most people, their mind cannot stay on any one thing. Unless they're in activity, simply they cannot be here. In compulsive state of psychological activity is on. When you are like this, you cannot be. That means you cannot be a human being. Being has to happen. Only then togetherness will be very rich. If you know how to be by yourself, then coming together will be hugely rewarding and of tremendous value. That means we came together consciously.
So does the earth. In fact, so does the sky. All the celestial objects are making their own sounds. There are sounds of pain, sounds of pleasure, sounds of misery, sounds of joy. For everything there is a sound. With human life, it's very true. Sounds of life, and there are sounds of death. And there are even sounds of silence. So this complex amalgamation of sounds, different kinds of sounds, creates different intent, different levels of compulsiveness, different levels of bondage, and different possibilities of entanglement. In all this, why one chooses to become silent? Silence is not a way of denying yourself life. It is not even about denying yourself articulation. Silence is about moving from compulsiveness to consciousness. All sounds represent different forms and different dimensions of compulsiveness. When one chooses to become conscious, not be entangled in the compulsive nature of the existence, he naturally chooses to become silent. Silence does not mean shutting your mouth silence, plugging your ears silence. You can sing in silence. You can dance in silence. You can even speak in silence. You can even scream in silence. You don't try. That does not mean when everybody is silent you scream. That is not screaming in silence. Because sound is of the surface, silence is of the core. It is only the surface which makes the sound. See, now the water is hitting the surface and making the sound. Deep down, there is no sound. That is so with life. On the surface, it is a very complex mesh of sounds, a maze of sounds happening. But at the core, there is no sound. There is no word for no sound in English language. We call it nishabd. That means absence of sound, a total absence of sound. Absence of sound means absence of reverberation. Absence of reverberation means absence of life. Absence of life means absence of creation. Absence of creation means absence of the Creator too. So a space which is beyond creation and creator, a dimension which is beyond life and death. That is what is being referred to as silence or nishabd. One cannot do this. One can become this. Commonly, there are two words employed to describe this. One is maun, that means you're practicing silence, you're not silent. You shut your mouth and you're remaining in maun. This is not nishabd. Maun means you're practicing silence. If you're practicing something, obviously you're not that. Are you life or are you practicing life? I'm asking you. Are you life or are you practicing life? Practicing life? No, your life. Maybe not very well practiced, but your life. Similarly, there is a difference between practicing silence and becoming silence. Practicing silence starts as a certain restriction, but slowly, as one practices silence, one can possibly become silent. One can become silent in intense activity, but nobody can keep up intense activity forever. Moments of intense activity are only moments. Nobody can sustain it. You'll expend yourself. Only if you can achieve it in inactivity, it is sustainable. If something is possible only in intense activity, it is never sustainable. In a very intense and ecstatic moment of singing, somebody may become or taste a moment of silence. But how long can you keep it up? Your throat will tear and your neighbors may kill you. Possible. So this possibility of coming to silence or becoming silent also means to become still, to become utterly still. Stillness can be achieved in so many ways. If you watch a snake, he's still. If you watch a tiger which is on a hunt, absolutely still, charged but still. These are all different dimensions of stillness practiced for survival. If a snake moves too often, he'll get killed. If a tiger does not know how to be still, he'll never get his food. These are all acts of survival. A human being, for survival, he has to be active. Only when his vision falls upon something which is beyond survival, then he will think of stillness. Then he will understand as he observes himself, as he notices the complexity of one's compulsions. He understands the only way to solve it is to become still. To train this body, to train this mind, to become still, takes some effort. If one is simply blissed out, he will become still. But otherwise one has to work. Bit by bit, one has to work to bring this body to absolute stillness. Most people cannot hold their body in one place for any length of time. They're all the time in movement. As it is said, a man is ill only because he does not know how to be still. Because in stillness, you're in touch with a dimension way beyond creation. Once one is in touch with that, there is no such thing as illness. If I sit here and the body rots and falls down, still there is no illness, it's just there. Because in fact, when one becomes utterly still, he may not be able to hold on to the body unless he learns the tricks, the mechanism of the body. So why should I become still? Will I lose my body? Anyway, you will lose your body. When the time to lose your body comes, if you want to lose it gracefully, then you must know at least a little bit of stillness. If you want to put your body down like you can put this piece of cloth down, with the same ease, with the same gracefulness, then you need to have some stillness in you. Otherwise, you and your body, you have to be torn apart, which is an ugly thing to do. When you're being torn away from your body, it is an ugly and painful thing to do, unless you can keep it down. There's no grace in life. So if one has to attain to that grace, at least a certain amount of stillness has to enter your life. For this to happen, a certain level of silence has to enter your life. If right now if it is not coming, at least practicing a little bit of Maun. In an hour, if you're speaking 1,573 words right now, how many more? How many words do you spit out in a minute? 1,573, you're actually doing that many? I thought that's impossible. Okay, I believe you. So whatever number you're doing, see if you can articulate the same things that you're saying with half the number of words. Suddenly you will become extremely conscious of everything. Right now, our oral diarrhea is happening. If you're doing 1573, it's diarrhea, okay. Now, if you have to hold back half the words and still say the same things, now you have to be very conscious, otherwise you cannot say it. Just try this and see. Tomorrow, one day. In an hour, normally what number of words you utter, make it half. Don't curtail your activity, still say the same things. But with half the words, how wonderful the whole world will feel, you know. World will be a wonderful place, I'm telling you, tomorrow, if everybody does this. Many marriages will be saved.
If you have to utter any kind of sound without using the tongue, what are the sounds that you could utter? I want you to experiment and see. Yes, for sure you can do possible. Yes, possible. What else? Suppose you did not have a tongue. What are the sounds you can utter? You can do you can do oo, you can do Try any other sound. Someone who is unable to speak, a mute person who is unable to speak, what are the sounds that he makes? Because these three sounds do not need the use of your tongue. If you remove your tongue, you are able to make only three sounds, You're using the tongue, placing the tongue in different positions in your palate to mix these three sounds and produce all the other sounds that you produce. If you know something about the color television, you would know there are only three basic colors. Using these three colors, you see every other possible color on the tube. Similarly, there are only three basic sounds. Using these three sounds, you're able to produce all these other sounds. The tongue is just helping you to mix these three sounds in many complex ways. Now these three sounds, vu and ma, are referred to as the basic sounds or the universal sounds, because these three sounds are the basis of all the other sounds that you can utter. If you utter these three sounds together, what do you get? It's not oh, So these are the three basic sounds which are the very basis of all the other sounds that you can utter. So is known as the universal sound or the basic sound in the creation. If this is true, how come only a certain religion seems to be using it as a brand for themselves and nowhere else it is known? That is not true. Wherever there is a realized being, there sound will be there. For example, Christianity, born in Jerusalem, where the language at that time was Aramaic. Aramaic language has a certain inflection where sound is dominant. So in Christianity, whatever they close with today, whatever they say, they close it with Amen. If you look at it the way it is said at the Vatican, it's always said, Amen. You take off the N and say Amen. Oh. If you want to understand this, you can see a similar inflection in Tamil. See now, for example, Ram. You know Ram, born in Ayodhya? He came down south. When he came south, when Ram entered Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, people called him Rama. Then he crossed the Tamil Nadu border, people called him Raman. If Krishna comes to Tamil Nadu, what will you do? Krishnan. If Arjun comes to Tamil Nadu, what do you do? Arjunan. If Bhim comes to Tamil Nadu, what do you do? Bhiman. Whoever enters Tamil Nadu border, they get unified. This inflection of in Tamil is much stronger than Aramaic. Amen. You take out the N, it's just Am. Today this Amen has gone to United States of America and become Amen. This is cultural and language distortions which happen. Islam, born also in the same region, under the same cultural and language influences, they are saying Ameen. Take away N and say Ameen.
Oh, it's the same sound. Because wherever a human being becomes silent by his own nature, not school teacher silence, not plugging your ears silence, if you become silent by your own nature, sound will reverberate in the system because the root sound for your physical existence is sound When reverberates, it starts from just beneath the navel and ends at the tip of your nose. This reverberation will just happen by itself. So wherever a human being truly sat quietly, utter quietness within himself, he always became aware of the sound When he transmitted it, it got distorted over a period of time according to language and cultural influences. Even in India, has become Om. It is not Om. You open your mouth and say gently close your mouth, it becomes U. You close it, it becomes Sound has innumerable benefits. Even today, if anybody come here with any kind of psychological disturbances, the first prescription is always You do this for a few weeks, you settle down and then we go into other aspects. I can show you hundreds of people for whom medically it was believed that they have to be on psychiatric medication for the rest of their life, have completely walked out of the need for medication simply by uttering If you are suffering from excessive fear, distorted dreams, bad dreams, nightmares, unstable mind, unstable body, if your general constitution is weak, you tend to fall sick too often, particularly children, if they have attention disorders, daily utterance of for a few minutes a day will make an enormous difference for you. If you have problems that you're unable to do anything with a certain resolve in your life, daily utterance of will be truly transformational for you. Within a couple of weeks, you can notice a phenomenal difference in the way you function. Because this is the basic sound in your physical existence.
If your mind took instructions from you, would you create anxiety? No. So don't look for answers elsewhere. It is just that your own physiology and your psychological patterns not taking instructions from you. So you said so many things, I try, whatever these big words are floating all over California particularly, about surrendering to it, about letting it go, about… Not for one person has such a thing worked, ever. Has it, I'm asking you? You have anxiety, try to let it go. Does it go? Even a damn flu doesn't go. Yes or no? Even a simple cold does not go, you say go, does it go? So, let's not get into this fanciful states of surrendering, these are all words thrown around. Nobody knows what is surrender. Because when it happens, you will not know it has happened. You can't do it, I surrendered. How's that possible? So, leaving those things, essentially, as I said, you have not read the user's manual of how this works. We need to pay attention to this. The system is made in such a way, if you hold your hand like this, it'll work one way. If you do like this, it'll work another way. If you do like that, it'll work another way. It's a phenomenal process. If it was a simple thing, we could have just beaten it into shape with hammer and anvil, okay? It's too sophisticated. It's a phenomenally complex machine. One needs to pay a certain level of attention to be able to use it for what it is designed for. Otherwise, it'll get itself messed up. Now, there may be many factors, there may be genetic factors, there may be sociological factors, there may be growing up issues, various things. But do not ascribe your problems to any of those things. The important thing is just this: you are not able to have your mind the way you want it. That's the only problem you have, isn't it? The moment you ascribe it, I'm like this because my father was like that, I'm like this because my grandfather's genetics were not okay, you're finished. Because we can't change those guys now. Yes? You can't choose a different father or a different grandfather now, it's over. But you can transform this. You must understand, still it doesn't matter you have anxiety disorder. Still, if you put a piece of carrot, there is an intelligence here which can transform a carrot into a human being. That means every day a new body is being manufactured within you, isn't it? In parts, a new human being is manufactured every day. When the very source of creation is functioning within you and a new human being is constantly being created, if you take little charge of that, you can create an entire new physiological and psychological process. This happened to us some time ago. Last year, we were trekking in Tibet. I was in a tent. I was doing some work and another person was cutting an apple. One of these porcelain knives these days. So the other person around says to this person, "It's a very sharp knife, be careful." It irritates me a bit. I look like this because he's a grown man. If it's a child, it's different. Then we have to watch how he uses the knife. It's a full-grown man and a knife is supposed to be sharp. If it's not sharp, why do you call it a knife? So I ignored it and continued to work. In another 2 minutes, she says again, "It's a very sharp knife, be careful." I said, "Come on, he's a full-grown man, leave him alone, he knows how to use this knife. This stupid knife can't he handle? It's not some earth-moving machinery or spacecraft or something that he doesn't know how to handle. It's a knife." She says, "No, Sadhguru, it's a very sharp knife." All right. And I continue what I'm doing. In another 2 minutes, she whispers to him, "Please be careful, very sharp." And in another 2 minutes, he cuts his finger. Then I give up, okay. This is all that's happening. This is all that's happening with life. You have an intellect for which you don't have a stable enough platform. Or in other words, you have a sharp knife, a very sharp knife in a very sharp knife in your hand, but your hand is not steady. Please see, it's your own mind which is causing all this pain, isn't it? Yes or no? So you have a very sharp knife, the sharper it is, the more you cut yourself. So we don't have to blunt the knife. We just have to have a steady hand, isn't it? Nothing has been done about that. People are trying to blunt the knife with all these sedatives and nonsense. What you take is to blunt the knife. Blunting the knife is not the answer, because if you lower the possibilities of who you are, everything will be okay. If you remove half of your brain, you will be quite peaceful. Because it takes some brain to cause anxiety. If we really remove half of your brain, you will be quite peaceful and you may even be happy, actually. nothing bothers you. You'll be okay. All right? But that's not what we're looking for. What a human being is looking for is to become limitless in some way. And if this has to happen, you have to create a steady platform. Knife need not be taken away, knife need not be blunted. Only thing is, hand needs to be steadied, isn't it? No process to do that. What inner engineering means, what yoga means is just this. When I say yoga, being in California, don't imagine all those impossible postures. Yoga does not mean postures, yoga means union, okay? The word yoga literally means union. This is the first form of union. Your right and left. This is called as Pingala and Ida in yoga, the masculine and the feminine within you. Just put it together, just do this simple sadhana, all of you. You can't do any other yoga. This much you can do, isn't it? What you do is something that concerns your life. It could be the sun coming up. Sun is coming up. Without sun coming up, you wouldn't exist on this planet, isn't it? The warmth of life is going on within you only because the sun comes up. Without the tree exhaling oxygen and you exhaling in carbon dioxide for it and this exchange happening, you wouldn't be alive, isn't it? Like this, look at it, the food that you eat, the sun, the earth that you walk upon, air that you breathe, water that you drink, people who live around you, whatever, you choose anyone. Just do this, put your right and left together perfectly, not like this, not like this, perfectly, okay? Just look at something that really matters to you. Maybe the sun, maybe the sky, maybe the cloud, maybe a tree, maybe a person, maybe a child, an animal, it doesn't matter what. Just look at it, putting your hands together for 10-12 minutes at a stretch. You will see half your anxiety will start settling down. Because essentially the conflict is, there are two dimensions within you. I don't want to go into an elaborate description of this, because the yogic physiology goes elaborately into this. But to put it simply, even in modern medical science is telling you there's a right brain and a left brain, all right? Just put these two things together. Look at with utmost love and appreciation towards something that matters to you. It could be your wife, it could be your husband, it could be your child, a tree, a dog, sky, sun, moon, whatever. Every one of them are vital for your life, isn't it so? Yes? Whatever you can relate to, putting these two things together, just look at them with utmost pleasantness that you can generate, recognizing how important they are for you. Many things will change. This is the first form of yoga. If I do this, it'll become difficult. And there are many ways to do namaskar, like this, like that, like that. This is the most simple thing. Start here, okay?
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to not miss any new content and invite your friends to join us on this learning adventure.
Across the waste of burning plains, think of the road with wrath untamed. His steed like thunder through the dust, a sacrifice that fate proclaimed. His eyes aflame with a light so wild, like fire in the valor's breath. Through Andal's gates he stormed along to meet his fate in glorious death. The sons of Fëanor, driven lost, and in the noble's grim defeat, with shattered hope and fury's call, he charged along to Morgoth's feet. He sounded his horn with the light so wild, like fire in the valor's breath. To Angband's gates he stormed alone to meet his fate in glory's death. To meet his face, that fate proclaimed, his sacral blow below God's feet. He sounded his horn with a light so wild, the brazen doors were clawed and turned. A steed like thunder through the dust, a sacrifice that fate proclaims. His eyes aflame with a light so wild like fire in the valor's breast. To Rangland's gates he stormed alone to meet his fate in glory's death. The sons of farewell driven lost and didn't know those grim defeats would shatter hope in fury's call. He charged alone to Mordor's feet. Sounded his horn with a thunderous cry. The brazen doors replied in turn and called the Dark Lord forth to fight with a rage that none could spurn. Under blackened skies they clash in fire, a dance of steel, a test of wills. In every blow, a hero's pyre. As blood meets stone, the earth stands still. The hammer fell from heights, a force of doom and boundless hate. But Fingolfin, swift as a striking hawk, evaded death, defied his fate. His silver mail and crystal shield, they glimmered bright against the dark, like a lone star's defiant light, a guide through shadows cold and stark. With every swing of Ringill's blade, the giant trembled, strength unmade, by a king who dared to stand alone, who knew the weight of choices made. 7 wounds he dealt that night, 7 cries rang out in pain. As Angband's hosts looked on in fright, they fell to earth like sudden rain. The ground blackened skies, they clash in fire, a dance of steel, a test of wills. In every blow, a hero's pyre, as blood meets stone, the earth stands still. The ground gave way to pits of grief, beneath Morgoth's iron tread. His